Ugly. So she's pretty. And she drawed you. How many other boyfriends does she have? Zero? Oh, better watch your brother there. He said she was kind of cute too. But beauty draws us to it. Now, I'll never forget, I was preaching over in the Philippines, and they had one of these gadgets there on the thing, and I mean, it was beautiful. The only problem was, I thought it was real, but it wasn't. And it was fake as fake could be, just like this one is, I'm pretty sure. Right? But now this one right here is real. And it's pretty. And it's getting ready to bloom. Oh, it's opening up right here. It's got a couple others in there, and they'll open up and reveal their beauty. And somebody may sit out there and say, wow, what are them things called? Peace lily? Peace lily. Wow, them's pretty peace lilies. But people are drawn to all kinds of stuff. So as I was thinking about this, and I was trying to figure out what my most favorite thing that I'm drawn to is, and I don't have one. I'm drawn to everything. I'm kind of like a squirrel. I'm just all over the place. I like, Dad, I even like horses. Now, I don't know that I like horses like you and Jared. I don't think I would walk across town if there's one in the parking lot. I don't think I'd walk across the street to look at it. Now, if it was a motorcycle, I probably would. But not a horse. Unless it was over there cutting a fit and needed help. Then I would go with a gun. But no, I'm just picking. But we're drawn to all kinds of stuff. And things get our attention. And things move us. And this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Pick something in your life that you were drawn to. Maybe as a girl at school. Why did you go to that particular one? Because you was drawn by her beauty or her meanness, whichever one. I mean, with women, it could go either way. Could be because she's the meanest kid in school. But we're drawn to different things for different reasons. I mean, the beauty of creation. How many of you have now this was odd. I was at the doctor getting worked on. Something was wrong with me like normal. And this girl, she had these coordinates tattooed on her arm. You know, like longitude and latitude and the numbers. And I didn't know what it. So, Kat, I said, what's that mean? She said, this is the latitude, longitude lines of my favorite camping spot. It's a campground that me and my family have went to all of my life. And I've got the tattoos. I was thinking to myself, my memory's bad, but I believe I could remember how to get back to it, and I wouldn't want to tattoo it on me, but, whatever. But she had that spot. And then above it, it was kind of a picture of that area. I mean, do you have a favorite place that you love to go look at? I mean, a lot of people, why do they make those scenic overlooks? Because people are drawn to that beauty. And as I was thinking about this, a lot of people are drawn to vehicles. How many of you like to go to car shows? You like to go see them old muscle cars? See, I like it, but I wouldn't go out of my way, but I don't mind looking at it. I saw one the other day. It was some kind of a 60-some model Thunderbird with a funny back end on it. Real sleek looking. I thought, wow, that's cool. But we get drawn to all kinds of stuff. How many has ever been drawn to something? Let's go easy with me here. Been drawn to something that you would say that it was a fatal attraction. You wished you'd have never got interested in that. Anybody? Been a few things that I wished I hadn't got involved in. Some people that I wished I hadn't been attracted to. But, sometimes there's not much you can do about that. So here's the title. Fatal Attraction of the Cross. Now you're probably thinking, that makes no sense. And you're probably right. But I'm hoping the Lord will make it make sense to you when we get done. Follow along with me in John chapter number 12, verse number 29. Pick up reading there. The people that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. Others said an angel spake to him. And what they're talking about was the Lord recognizing His Son, Jesus, God from heaven speaking, and that's what this conversation is. In verse number 30, Jesus expands upon it or expounds on it. And He says, Jesus answered and said, "This voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out." And then He says this, "And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me." This He said, signifying what death He should die. Let's pray. Dear Lord, as I come to You, Lord, I beg and plead, Lord, that You move and work like only You can. And Lord, help me as I try my best. Lord, as You woke me up with this thought and this message, God, I want to lift You up. Lord, I want people to take notice of who You are and what You've done for them. And Lord, I ask You, God, that You'd let this come out the way You want it. Lord, may it fall on the people's ears as You would have them to hear it. And God, may You get the glory and honor for it all. Today we ask it all in Your precious name. Amen and amen. First of all, we've already talked a little bit about it. Let's talk about the drawing power of beauty. When we moved out here, we had never seen the Rocky Mountains. Never seen it. Now, y'all see it all the time, and it don't really do much for you anymore. But when we saw it, to be honest with you, Miss Norma, I didn't really go, "Wow, it's so beautiful." I really said, "Dear Lord, what have I got myself into?" Because we were driving a pickup truck with a trailer, a straight truck with a trailer, and it was snowing like crazy. And it was beautiful. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not denying that it was beautiful. It was spectacular to see. But friend, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't looking forward to driving up and over that. I was scared. I was nervous. I mean, my wife's driving a 20-some foot box truck, and she's never drove nothing big in her life. A pickup's the biggest thing she did. And here we are going to climb up over them beautiful white snow-capped mountains and down the other side. But it was a beautiful sight to see. And I'll never forget, I don't know what that little area is, but there's a river and a lake, and for the first time in our lives, we saw people standing on the lake fishing. I thought, wow, we don't see that every day where we're from. They had drilled holes down through the ice, and there was a multitude of people out there fishing. And I'm trying to look at all this beautiful stuff and not run off the road in the snow. But that beauty, now listen, it wasn't the beauty that drew me to Colorado. Trust me. I get the same response from everybody I tell the story to. It's funny, they all say, "Why Craig?" And I have to say, trust me, it was God that brought me here and not myself. I didn't put my finger on the map and say, "Here's where we're going, Lord." No, He put me here. And I'll talk to Him about it when we get to heaven and give Him all the glory for it. But at any rate, the beauty draws us. It draws us to it. Now, you may, how many of you's got a vehicle? You got a vehicle, and something drew you to that vehicle. Maybe it was the amount of money they wanted for it. Maybe it was the fact that you just love Fords. God help them. But maybe it was because it was a Chevrolet and a bow tie. But there's something about it that made you choose that one vehicle. That person in your life that you fell in love with, you was drawn to that because of beauty. And here's the funny thing, what happens when we get under the drawing power of beauty. Now, bear with me. See if you can identify with me on that. And I had a preacher friend, and he preached about how he was lusting and drawn to an F-250 Super Duty diesel truck. And the way he explained it, it was so good. And it's kind of how I want to explain this. When you're drawn to something, what does it do to you? This young man, he says he's got a girlfriend. We'll take his word for it. We won't go try to find her or none of that. But when you're drawn by beauty to something, this is what happens to you. You get blinded to everything else. You can't see nothing but that Harley Davidson chromed out. And if you got one in particular mind, whether it's a soft tail, a hard tail, I don't know the rest of them's names, but it don't matter if it's a full dresser. You ain't gonna look at that Sportster in the corner because it don't matter to you. It's not what you want. You're not drawn to the little 900,000, or you want the big 1,800 model. It's like a four-wheeler. If you're wanting a side-by-side, a three-wheeler ain't going to fit the bill. So if you're drawn to that side-by-side, you put everything else out of your mind. Nothing else matters to you. When the TV commercials come on, it don't matter if there's 14 Honda commercials, Suzuki commercials, or Kawasaki, but you let one of them TV commercials rev up a Harley Davidson, and you're like, oh, is that the one I'm getting? Is that mine? Is that the one I'm going to be riding around in Craig on? No, that's a Sportster. It's amazing when you're under the power of the spell of beauty drawing you to something, you forget about everything else. Nothing else matters. You put it all out of your mind. You can't be tempted with a rice rocket. You can't be tempted with a crotch rocket. You can't be tempted with nothing but iron steel. Come on. Like you die-hard Ford fans. If it's got more than a 4-letter word on it, you ain't interested. Once you get it now, you'll use a lot of those words. But, you just ain't interested in a Chevrolet. What about that man? That man. Miss Faye, that man that you locked on to. Did nothing else matter, did it? She's like, probably not. When you fall in love, right now, you probably got one girl on your mind. She may be listening. You better straighten up. One girl, and I mean, when you get focused in, you lock everything in, everything else goes by the wayside. It goes by the wayside. You're drawn to that. It captivates your mind. It takes over your thinking. I mean, there's a lot of people, different stuff. I mean, in our part of the North Carolina, there's a lot of hunters there. And when it gets hunting season, they're worse than a buck in rut. They lose their mind. They'll spend more money than they got to spend just because they're in love with the hunting feeling, the aspect, the hunt of it. It just wraps them up. They'll forsake shaving. They'll grow a beard, look like Grizzly Adams. They won't bathe because it's got detergents in it and the deer might smell it. I mean, they get plumb crazy. But it's hunting season. Now, I like fishing. I mean, there's this lake up here that they say somebody got a picture in the paper says they caught it out there. Now, they may be telling the truth. I don't buy it, but they say they caught it there. I've never even got a bite at that lake. And I've thrown everything in my tackle box at it, and ain't nothing bit yet but the mosquitoes. Now, they will bite. But I'm drawn to fishing. I like fishing. I've tried already several times. Ain't caught nothing yet. I like fishing tackle. I've bought several rod and reels. I'm ready to go. And when I want to go fishing, Eddie, I don't think about hunting. I don't care about moose, goose, or ducks, or turkeys. I just want fish. I want to catch a fish. I'm consumed by it. And when you get consumed by something, that means that beauty of it, whatever it is, has drawn you. It's pulled you into it. It's pulled you into it. And the devil he is a master at making us be drawn to stuff. He removes everything else. The only thing in focus is the object. Everything else is out of focus. You just don't care. I mean, if you're riding around in a Mustang GT, Shaking your head. I don't know what it is, but every young kid wants a Mustang GT or a Camaro. When you're riding around in it, life is good. Life is great. And you don't focus on nothing else except how cool you look. I mean, your Harley Davidson it may look girly, but I would probably still be feeling pretty cool if I was there. My neighbor tries to get me to ride his, but I'm scared. I don't want to mess it up. But we get drawn to stuff. And when we do, nothing else gets in focus. Just that object. Just that particular thing. He's looking one day, there's going to be a girl, and he's going to get locked in on it. It's happened to him a time or two, and it ain't been good, but one of these days, he's going to lock on to one. Lord willing, she's going to lock back. It's going to be good. Until it's not, and that happens. It comes about, storms of life sometimes. Just like that Harley Davidson. Has your Harley Davidson ever broke down? That is a miracle. That Mustang GT that everybody's riding around in, eventually it's going to break down and it won't crank. The battery will die or something will happen. And all that stuff will then become a little dimmer to you. That's like when you got that brand new hunting rifle and you take that shot at that biggest elk you've ever seen. Then you ain't too fond of that hunting rifle. But everything in this world will grow dim eventually. So not only the drawing power of the beauty of it, it removes everything else, but also when you're consumed with it, there's some relief to it. I mean, when you go out there and you crank up that motorcycle and you know your neighbor's over there lusting after it, coveting it, you rev it up a few times, it makes you feel good. I'm finally going to get to go ride today. Your helmet on, well, put your helmet on, got your leather on, whatever. You sit down on that thing and it's like when you want to go fishing and you finally get there and you look and you survey the water and you're drawn. Oh yeah, he's laying right over there. Oh yeah, let me get over there. And you get your seat and you cast that thing out there. You just relax. Relief. Like when you go to school and she's still talking to you and she runs out there and she says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And your heart just relaxes. I still got it. I'm still the guy. I'm still the one. Cat, when you come home and been gone for a while and Jared's got the house clean, kids all in order, and he's standing there with that big cowboy hat on. Good to see you. It makes you feel relaxed. Relief. But that attraction is still there. And it happens. It happens. Ain't nothing wrong with it. As long as it's the right stuff in your life. I can imagine the beauty of different things draws people. There's comfort when you're there. I mean, sometimes I stand when I fish, sometimes I sit. But if I'm holding a fishing rod, it's a pretty good day. Even when they ain't biting. Even when you believe there ain't even a fish in the water. A bad day of fishing is still a pretty good day. A bad day with a girlfriend is still a pretty good day. A bad day of riding your Harley, I guess, is a really good day. I don't remember what your brand is. What is that one you got? A Suzuki. You know what mine was? No, mine was a Kawasaki. I can't even remember what mine was now. That's bad. But I mean, I never got on my motorcycle, even if I was just riding to work. It did make the trip a little better. Think about that. Bring some comfort to you. The beauty of a certain view draws onlookers to it. Even automobiles have a draw to some people. Sporting events. How many of you? I'll tell you what. I can really talk about this one. I used to have this thing about rock and roll concerts. Now, for you offended by that, I also had a lot of country concerts I went to. But I can remember when we bought that ticket and the date got close. And Miss Faye, we'd get on the road and head to Charlotte to go see whoever. Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, whoever it is, AC/DC. I mean, whoever that group was, as we was on our way, we were getting drawn. It was like something just pulling us. I mean, there's a lot of things that was pulling us, but we get closer to Charlotte, and Dave would drive a little faster. We just couldn't wait to get there. And we'd get there finally. And all the noise and all the pollution in the air and all the stuff, we were there finally. Relief to be in front of it. Once in front of it, whatever it is or whoever it is, the feeling of relief comforts us, and all is well and no worries are there to us. We're satisfied for the moment. Like when I go home and I sit down on the couch, and then my wife comes and she sits down beside me, I'm relieved. There's comfort. I like it. She was drawn. I didn't have to holler at her and say, "Hey, how about come over here and sit with me?" Just happens. Just happens. So we see this beauty, the drawing power of beauty. What else takes place? It's not just the drawing power of the beauty, but it's the desire inside of you that you want it. You see, I'm going to have to confess a little bit to you. I used to be offended at seeing women on Harley Davidsons. It made me mad. You know why? Because I didn't have one. And I thought to myself, Lord, how can a woman be riding a Harley Davidson and I can't? And I'm just kind of upset about it. I've got over it now. Lord, help me mature a little bit. Basically, he said, because you're too cheap to buy one. I'm scared, whichever one it is. But you know, there was a desire. If I had a strong enough desire, I would go buy one. And I'd have to buy one bigger than yours because I wouldn't want to look sissy on my motorcycle if we were riding. But your desire, that desire causes you to do stuff you wouldn't normally do. Like act silly to make her smile. Or to learn how to cook. When you never had a desire to cook, but you know he wants somebody that knows how to cook. So you go learn to do that. I'll tell you now, this is going to sound terrible. It's going to sound terrible. Forgive me. I'm just going to be honest. Okay, so my eyes, they were drawn to this girl at school. Black hair, brown eyes. Now, I know my wife is blonde-haired and green-eyed, but just had this thing about black-haired girls with brown eyes. This particular girl was a high society girl. And she also happened to drive a 1968 Mustang. Buddy of mine that I run around with, he had a 1977 Mustang II. The little short cars with the big motors, they would fly. And in the back seat of his car was several of those Mustang magazines. So I looked at him, I looked at the magazines, and I put two and two together. I was like, I can't talk to this girl without a reason. Because I'm a pothead, and she's a high society, high class, smart girl. How can I create a conversation? So I had a desire to speak to her, so I took one of those Mustang magazines, and I just kind of walked up to her one day at school, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She's like, "Who's this pothead talking to me?" She's backing up. I said, "Is that your Mustang out there? Is that a 1968 or a 67? It's a 68. I said, "Really?" I said, "I like Mustangs too." You ever look at this magazine? She hadn't. So my desire had overcome me, and I was drawn to her, and I had to figure out a way to get to it. You ever been there? Have you ever got drawn in and had a desire and you wanted something? I'll never forget this lady I used to go to church with in our home church. Her husband, he was backwards and shy and bashful. He wouldn't even look her in the eye. And I said, "So how did y'all end up getting married?" She said, "Well, I asked him because I knew there wasn't no way he was going to ask me. So I had to be the one to ask him." Has your desire for something ever overcome you? Another buddy of mine, his wife, she just come through a major heart attack and surgery and stuff. But he told me that, he said, when I saw her, she was sitting on a trash can at a baseball game. And he said something to her smart, and she come back at him smart and hateful too. And he said, from that day on, I was in love. My desire for her has never changed. I thought, well, it's amazing what desire does to you. When you're drawn by the beauty, that desire comes over top of you, and just the sight of it. I mean, just the sight of it makes you want to get as close to it as you can. Not only that, just a picture of it. If I show you a picture of your girlfriend, you're going to grab it. Right? You're going to say, whoop, yeah, that's mine. Look, everybody, this is mine. Motorcycle. You got a picture of you riding your motorcycle? Show it to somebody. Look here, this is my motorcycle. Your wife, your husband, even your kids. Look, it's yours, mine. Look at this boy. Anybody take him? Tired of feeding him. Anybody want him? I might try that and run an ad in the paper with y'all's picture. But we're proud of it. We want it. We have that desire. It overcomes us. We don't know what to do with it. The sight of it. The sense when it's close. The being in the presence of it makes us feel good. Think about it. Thinking about it continually. You go to sleep at night and you're thinking, what can I add to that Harley Davidson? What can I add? What can I buy her next? What can I get her for Christmas? Is her ears pierced? I ain't even noticed. Does she have earrings? Can I get her a necklace? You ladies, I know what you're laying there thinking. Well, I wonder what gun I can get him next. What gun does he need? Does he need some more camo clothing? Let's make him invisible so he can be successful. You spend all your time coming up with a way to make it work. You're captivated by this newfound love. Not only that, our feelings are heightened when we're together. We can tell we are close to them. We may run towards it. You know, like I was telling you, when we get close to Charlotte, man, I'd mash the gas. Couldn't wait to get there. I wanted to be in the presence of it. I wanted to hear the guitar music come through my body, make my head vibrate, bust my eardrums. That's what it was all about. Thirdly, I want you to think about this. When you're drawn to this thing or this object, you always know where it's at and how to get to it. You always have the direction to it. The direction's on, hey, I know where that overlook is. Hey, I know where that campground is. Hey, I bet I can ask you where your Harley Davidson is, and you know exactly where it's at. Is that true? You know where your motorcycle's at? Dave, you know where your guns are? 30-06, you got a 30-06. You know exactly where it's at. And you know how to get to it. You see, that thing we're drawn to, we know where it's at. We know how to get to it. Problem is, sometimes we get away from it. You get away from it and you're wondering, you don't never have to say, how do I get back to it? Because you know. You have the directions that are in your heart. You know where that girl is. You know her phone number. You know how to text her. You know where those guns are. They're locked up in the cabinet. The Harley's out in the shed or in the garage. Your bikes are in the house. You know where they're at. Getting to them is not a problem. Problem is when you get away from them. You don't like it. You lose all this stuff we've talked. You lose that sense of comfort. You lose that sense of peace that it brings to you. Here's the thing about it. You can tell others where they're at. If I ask Dave, where's your 30-06? He's going to say, well, it's in gun cabinet number 3. Gun cabinet number 3. You go down the hall, take a left to that room, go through the secret passageway, and you go in, and it's right there in that gun cabinet number 3. You can tell others how they can find it. If I have a favorite fishing spot, I can tell you, if I want to, how to get to it. I can tell you what bait to use. I can tell you what they bite. But I'm not going to, because I don't want you to go steal my fish. But at any rate, You can tell others, you know, how you met that significant person in your life. You can tell others how you fell in love. You can tell others why Harley Davidson is better than a Kawasaki or a Suzuki or a Honda. You can tell others why you ride a Kawasaki or a Suzuki or whatever it is. You can tell them all about it. You can give them directions. You can take them to your secret fishing spot. I'm glad for people that'll share their favorite fishing spot. But here's the thing about it. Let's get back to the cross. Why am I saying the cross is a fatal attraction? How can the cross be a fatal attraction? Now, all these things that I've mentioned, we mostly talked about objects. It could be a person. You could be infatuated with a person and it does all these same things to you. It takes your mind off everybody else. All you want to do is be close to them. All you want to do is be next to them. And all you desire is to hear them say, I love you. I approve of you. Pat you on the back. Embrace you. All these things can happen with a person, not just objects. I mean, right now, my son, I guess he'd say his best friend's probably his dog, Max. Dogs make good companions. They don't tell on you, normally. They never give you their opinion. I mean, we can put our affections in all kinds of things. But the cross, the Lord said in verse number 31, or verse number 32, and if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. Here's the fatal attraction for that. I want to lift him up to you this morning. I want you to see that God sent His only begotten Son, a perfect individual who never had sin. He never done anything wrong. And I want you to see what He did for you. I want to lift Him up for you to see Him. He went and got on a cross and He gave His life for you. And the fatal attraction for you not seeing that and being drawn to that is He is the life giver. Your life will be better if you accept Him, if you embrace Him, if you say, Lord, I'm seeing you on that cross and I see you did it for me. And Lord, I know you love me so much you gave yourself for me. See, that's the attraction. You say, was it beautiful? No, it was bloody. It was unreal, ugly. The Bible says He wasn't even being able to be recognized as a human because they had beat Him so bad. They had marred Him so much. And the whole reason this happened to Him was because of you, because of me, and because of the whole world. They needed a Savior. And there He is on that cross, giving His life for you, giving His life for me, and giving His life for whosoever will. And I'm so glad that one day I saw Him with my own eyes on that cross for me. And Eddie, I said to him, Lord, I don't want to go to hell. Lord, I love what you did for me. Lord, forgive me. I was drawn to Him. I was drawn to the cross. And it's a necessity. Guess what? That is the only key to heaven. You don't go no other way. It ain't about how good you live your life. It ain't about who you are. It ain't even about whether or not you own a Harley Davidson. It's all about Him and what He did on that cross. And the only way you're going to go is by you being drawn to Him and seeing what He did for you and seeing that He done all that so that you could have life. The fatal attraction of the cross is if you don't embrace Him, if you don't see Him, if you don't give yourself to Him, if you don't ask Him to be your Savior, guess what? Hell is death. Sin brings forth death. So, preacher, this all sounds good, but I can't live it. Can I tell you some really good news? I can't live it either. And I don't have to. Why is that? Because He lived. He had a sinless life. He never done nothing wrong. He never even told a lie. He never even offended one of His siblings. Imagine that. He wasn't never mean to them or ugly. He was perfect in everything He did. And the fatal attraction of the cross is if you don't go by, and you don't embrace, and you don't let Him draw you, then when death comes knocking, what are you going to say? You ain't going to say nothing. Because you ain't going to have nothing to say. I sat in church for probably 6 months wondering why I was there. Why? Why ain't I out partying? Why ain't I out drinking? Why ain't I out living it up like I was? But you see, someone, Kim, had stepped into my life and was pulling me away from the path that I had been following. He pulled me right into a church. I sat down for the first time, heard the gospel story, heard the gospel message, and I thought to myself, who would ever love someone enough to pay a debt they didn't owe? Mary hung. Said, me. It's me. I love you that much. And over time, I realized that I was being drawn to the cross. More importantly, I realized it wasn't about me, and I didn't have to do a certain thing except embrace what He did for me. And I did. I cried out to a holy God, and that holy God said, I love you. And I gave myself for you. Well, let me ask you something. Is the cross going to be fatal for you? Because the only way you're going to heaven is through the cross. You ask yourself, have I been to the cross? Have I seen what the Lord did for me? That He took my place and that I don't have to go to hell. I have a key to heaven. That key is faith in the Son of God. Have you unlocked that door yet? Because if not, the cross is going to be fatal. It's going to be fatal for you. So why is the cross a fatal attraction? All the things I have mentioned have drew me away from God and the fact of His Son, Jesus. But once I viewed the cross and the man Jesus was taking my place for my sinful way, you see, He took my place. It wasn't because He needed to, but it was because He wanted to. He loved me. Why do I do the things I do for my wife? Is it a law that you have to be good to your wife? No. Why do I do what I do for my kids? Tell them what I did for you last night. Just one thing. The last thing before you went to bed, you laid it in the cabinet. What did I do for you? Tell them. Give me a box of Reese Pieces. Gave him a box of Reese Pieces. Does your daddy like Reese Pieces? I didn't have to give him them Reese Pieces. I had them hid in my drawer. Eli, did I give you some Reese Pieces? He's shaking his head. And why do I do that? Because, Tammy, I love my children. Why did God send His only begotten Son? Because He loves you. Why does God not want you to die and go to hell? Because hell wasn't made for you. He wants you to embrace His Son. He wants you to walk through heaven's door. He wants you to be a part of His family. But you can look at the cross, you can hear the preaching, and you can turn a deaf ear, and you can walk right off into hell, and He'll let you. But you'll never say you didn't have the opportunity. You'll never be able to look at Him and say, I didn't have the chance. There He was instead of me. Why? Because He loved me. He was volunteering to take my place. And yes, for you not to see Him and for you not to be drawn to Him is a fatal attraction. You'll die, go to hell. But it's so easy. He said, if you'd call upon me, you'd be saved. Cross. He's there. He was there. But He didn't stay there. He loved you so much that He conquered death. Okay, that's why He can give life. Because He's conquered death. He is life. He is the life giver. You say, I've been doing pretty good, preacher, running my own show. I'll guarantee you this. If you'll let Him have control of it, your life will get better. He knows way more than you'll ever know. And He knows really what makes you happy. And I'm so glad that I gave the reins of my life over to Him. I'm glad that I give Him control. I'm glad that I was drawn to the cross. I'm glad that I embraced the cross. And I ask you today, will you embrace the cross? Have you embraced Him? It's no guessing game. You either believe it or you don't. Why don't you quit monkeying around with your life before death comes? Death comes for everyone else. You don't have to. Because you've embraced the cross, you have life. What about your kids, your family, those that are following your footsteps? You know, I like riding with guys and gals on motorcycles. I don't really like to lead because I like to follow. I've done enough leading. And I can't ride that good no way, so I don't want to wreck everybody. That's the bigger reason. Where are you going? More importantly, those in your life that you love, if they follow you, are they going by the cross? Or are you going to lead them right off into hell? And then be like the rich man in hell when he lifted up his eyes and he cried, hey, I've got some brothers. Don't let them come to where I'm at. It's too late for all that now. Have you been by the cross? Have you embraced it? Has the Lord drew you to Himself? Only you can answer that question. As we stand all over the building, Balaam, would you come get some red play? This would be a fatal for you not to be drawn by Him. So is He drawing you today? He gave Himself for you, got up victorious over death, hell, and the grave, and now He is there before you. And He softly is calling out to you. You know, we can make everything in life complicated, but the easiest thing for you to know is that Jesus loves you. He gave His only begotten Son to come and make a way for you to come to heaven. Let me ask you this. Is the cross going to be your fatal mistake? Or have you embraced it? And do you know what it is to be born again, to be free from sin, to know that when you die, you don't have to worry about where you're going? And do you have a peace in your heart to where you can go tell somebody else? Remember I said you always know where those objects are and you can tell people how to get there? Could you tell somebody in your family how to miss hell and make heaven their home? Could you? If you'll embrace the cross, all you got to do is tell them where you as a beggar found bread and share with them how to get to the cross and they can be saved. What about it? Would today be the day that God stepped into your life and said, hey, let's talk. Can I introduce you to my son? Can I introduce you to him and what he did for you? He gave his life for you on a cross that he didn't deserve. And if you'll accept him, I've got a home waiting for you. Would you be willing today to say, preacher, I want that. I need that in my life. I need that for my whole family. Maybe you're standing there and you're saying, I'm glad I've been to the cross. I'm glad I know who Jesus is. What a blessing to be a part of his family. Maybe the Lord's working on your heart. Maybe the Lord's saying, hey, you don't know me and you know it. I'm standing here before you. Hey, I want to have this conversation. You can hide. You can hide. I beg you not to. I beg you to make things right. We're not promised tomorrow and we're not promised another day. Our life's like a vapor and it's gone. Is it going to leave a good smell in the nostrils of God that you've left directions for your family that they can follow and come by the cross? Every head bowed.